as men, we're going to make several sacrifices, right? We are willing to give our lives if it would save yours, right? We're willing to protect you no matter what. We are willing to provide for you no matter what. There's times where we will work and then work and then work some more just because we want our family to be straight. We want our wives to be at ease, right? You want them to have peace of mind because, it's a sacrifice because it's a lot easier for us to just be out here single, killing it for a while. And, we're going to have a lot more money in our pockets, right? And do a lot more fun things. But, we care more about a legacy. We want family. And it's a choice we make, right? And it's a sacrifice in ways, right? Sacrificing the easy way out. And, so we expect the woman to put that type of effort back into us. That's one really good point right there. Secondly, can she represent me? Right? This is my final date for life. Right? This is who I'm with forever now. When I go to church, that's my date. When we go to a family function, that's my date. When I'm around my colleagues, that's my date forever. So can she represent me? Does she know how to chew with her mouth closed? Right? Does she pop gum loud? Is she loud or a hyena like somebody in the chat said? Is she going to embarrass me? Is she going to be one of those who thinks that everyone hates her? Right? There's so many things that can go wrong if she doesn't know how to represent you. So you have to consider the fact that, or is she going to wear that dress that's going to make people like, oh, word, like, do you need that? Does she know how to have that balance, right? Of looking good without just being sexy, without being over sexual, right? So that's another part. Is she going to be a good mother, right? Because I can only control but so much. There are many duties that are important for me as a father. And I feel like the mother as a nurturer is equally important, right? There's certain things that you can only get from a mother's love as well. Is she going to be a good one? Is she going to neglect them, right? Are they going to be able to learn from her? That's another thing. And lastly, I'd like to say, can she think for me? And this just boils down to consideration in a nutshell, right? Is she considerate? People who are considerate try to think for you, right? They want to make your life easier, just like I want to make your life easier. So are you going to have it in you? Because, all right, so just for instance, right? Women know how to exert energy into the wrong things sometimes, right? You can see how women become private eyes and go through your browser history and find out a whole bunch of stuff if they think you're cheating, right? What if you took that same energy proactively instead of reactively and said, you know what? Let me go through homie browser history so I can find out what he really loves. So let me find out what he really likes. Let me go ahead and see what it is that I can do for him. I know that he wanted these J's, or I know that he needed a tool for this, or I know he likes cars. I'm about to go get him those rims, those Toyo tires that I know he wanted. Like, can you research and take that private eye energy into finding out what it is that I like as a man, that I enjoy as a man? Can you think for me in that way? And that's really important. You want somebody who's going to be able to provide in that way, right? Or can she see that there is a need that you have and fulfill it without you asking, without you requesting? I'll let it there.
All right. We're going to go ahead and transition. There has been a lot of discussion about women that often say they want to be a stay-at-home wife. So I do want to bring this discussion of stay-at-home wife versus stay-at-home mom. Is it necessary for there to be a stay-at-home wife? Is there enough work that a wife can do that she needs to do inside the house, or should she be doing something else? Should she be working the business? Should she be, what if that guy doesn't trust her to be able to handle, but I guess he probably shouldn't be married to if you don't trust her to be able to handle the day-to-day tasks, right? Which whatever he got going on. I was having a conversation with somebody and they said that their job is to figure out what help he needs. And I just thought that was like a bright light, like, damn, like women think like that. But that's the next discussion. But stay-at-home wife versus stay-at-home mom. What do you guys' thoughts about that?
Well, a stay-at-home, I think you could be both. So stay-at-home mom, of course, is to make sure that the children is getting the family culture that you and your wife has created and getting poured directly into the children. And you're eliminating things like nannies as best you can. You're eliminating things like daycare as best you can, the dangers of that, the dangers of some unvetted, young, careless daycare worker harming your child. You be able to instill your own family values in your child while maybe dad is at work and mom is there nurturing the kids as much. So stay-at-home mom, nobody should really have an issue with. I certainly don't. Stay-at-home wife, though, let's say for instance you're a young couple or you're a couple that don't have kids yet. I believe that stay-at-home wife also makes sense, particularly for entrepreneurs. Because we always say, or at least I do, you should be able to retire your wife or employ her in the family business. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're making money and you running a business or you got something going on, or say, for instance, you have the aspirations to be an entrepreneur, but you work in a 9 to 5. Well, see, the thing is, when you were alone by yourself and you had to go to work all day long at the man's job, but then you had these thoughts of starting your own business. And so you only were able to work on it when you could. Well, if you make enough money at that job that you can sustain the lifestyle for you and your woman, imagine how much you can get done when she's at home working the entrepreneurial side of your aspirations, tapping in with you with using technology. Babe, this is what I did. I ran downtown. You at work at 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, but she's helping you build that entrepreneurial thing that you want to do that's going to be able to take you out of the rat race and that you guys can build. So there's space for that, even if you have a job. But certainly if you're an entrepreneur, there's space for her. Here's the thing that I did. In 2017, I was married, and my wife at the time, I was like, yo, you need to learn how to day trade. We were doing fashion and fashion was doing well. And I was going downtown to our store and running that and had the employee. That was all on lock. My wife, she was a model, so she would model our clothes. But whenever we wasn't shooting, I was like, yo, why don't you learn how to trade crypto? Why don't you understand Coinbase and Coinbase Pro and KuCoin and all these different, Bittrex? And she became a master at trading. And I would throw her some money. I'd be like, yo, every day, here's $1,000. Just trade that. And if at the end of the day, whatever you learn, she went to YouTube school, learn how to trade. And I said, listen, if we start with 1,000 and at the end of the day, you end up with 500, figure out how you can work that better. If you start the day with 1,000 and you ended up day trading and you ended up at 1,500 by the end of the day, you just made $500 in one day. And so that's being a stay-at-home wife. That could be a stay-at-home wife as well. If you're giving her the opportunity to delve into something that can make sense for your family, like Humble Dad is talking about starting the tiny homes stuff. If Humble Dad's career is doing well enough that he could sustain his family and his wife can concentrate on building that makeup school and finding out the land development and the contractors and the suppliers and the permits and all the stuff that's necessary to get the tiny homes thing going for their first plot of tiny homes. And we're going to do 24 different tiny homes on the east side of town. She could work that stuff being a stay-at-home wife. So I think it works for both depending on who it is. But I think you had mentioned that somebody said it was crazy to be a stay-at-home wife. I don't think so. It just depends on how that husband is going to be able to facilitate that with his wife while she is at home.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on the stay-at-home wife?
Well, I think it's going to be depending on the income of the family, of the household. Definitely. And I can totally agree with what Shan said with entrepreneurs having a stay-at-home wife because she can do those small things that you maybe too busy to do and don't feel like hiring somebody to do. She can do those things. So I could definitely agree with that. But based on the average person, the average man's income, it's not feasible for him to do it. Now, as far as being if you do it because you have kids, then that's different, because now you're saving money on childcare. But I think once they get school age, then I would probably recommend, your wife go back to work, unless your income makes a dramatic change where you can continue to allow her to stay home. Then that's different. But I think it's mainly going to be definitely income based on how the family's going to have to move for the most part. But like I said, if you have kids, young kids especially, I definitely recommend them to do it. But I'm also a guy who believes in homeschool. But that's a totally different subject, though.